Welcome back to another insightful episode of the What's Next podcast. Luke Hemmings, Philip Smith here from Next Advisory, market leading advisory and accounting advice, predominantly in Auckland, but we do get around the country. Today, we're going to do what everyone else is doing, Phil. We're going to talk about working from home.
Yeah, we will. Not the most exciting of topics because everyone seems to be thrashing it to death. But I will also add into the intro there, award-winning.
Award-winning too. Thank you.
Yeah,
I forgot that.
You're a humble guy, but let's not forget you are an award-winning chartered accountant.
Outstanding. How could I forget? Well, speaking of working from home, before the listeners tune out, you're going to listen to some tried and true tactics from working from home from a couple of blokes that have built hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue without bragging, without an office, and broken the mold of our industry. So when COVID came around and everybody was scrambling for, how do you work from home? What are the best tips and tricks? We were sort of going, well, we've got a jump start on that.
Yeah, business as usual for us. I mean, what has been the impact of coronavirus on us and our business model?
Yeah. So we weren't too disrupted in that facet or area, were we? However, for you, it wouldn't have been, it would have been the first time probably that the kids were running around, running amok, maybe getting in the way of the abacus, knocking it over.
Yeah, that's frustrating when they do knock the abacus over and then you've got to start back from scratch with all your little counters.
Yeah.
But not the first time they've been around when you think about the school holidays. So I have been used to it a little bit. We did manage some of the expectations around there in terms of our bubble was geographically large. So I had the place to myself largely to be able to carry on working from home as though it was normal Monday to Friday. But with our business model being solely based in the cloud, using products like Google Drive, Xero, and anything else that's way up there in the clouds, we've largely remained uninterrupted. The single biggest thing for us was no physical contact. We couldn't physically hang out, and
that was tough.
Yeah, it was. We couldn't, do breakfast. We couldn't do lunch. We couldn't do dinners. It was, and the same with clients. We couldn't, it's a big part of our business model is being able to not only pick up the phone and talk to our clients, but pick up the phone, arrange a meeting and go and see our clients at their premises.
Yeah.
And to not be able to do that was a real struggle. And once the restrictions came down, to be able to go and see some of our clients back at their premises, they were all pretty excited to see us.
Definitely. And I think, we're going to go through some of the things that have helped us move from working in an office environment to being able to work from home, and work on the go probably is better, than working from home, right? Like we can post up anywhere just about and carry on business as usual, whether that be in a library, a cafe, at a cafe waiting for me car to be finished getting serviced next door.
It's even extended as far as the Gold Coast and Fiji.
There we go. Even in the car at times, you can just get it done. And I think it's breaking the mold of that. So we'll talk about technology, but did the kids learn anything from Dad that they wouldn't have otherwise learned at school around some of the things that you were working on? You gave them some insight into, and of course, maybe, picking the abacus back up off the floor.
Yeah, they did. But I think it went both ways, actually. They learnt something from me.
Yeah.
And certainly our son was, he's always been intrigued about what I do, and he's a big fan of yours.
Wow.
And he's keen to ride shotgun with me at some stage, just as I think an excuse to get access to you. But hopefully that doesn't extend to a bigger interest in accounting, but we'll manage that. But no, that they got an insight in terms of habits and sitting down and remaining focused and blocking out distractions.
Nice.
And likewise, on the flip side of it, I certainly learnt stuff from them because the distance learning model with schools, because as you know, all of my kids are at school at varying levels. So to put my teacher hat on and help the kids was somewhat outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah?
Yeah, my wife is a primary school teacher, but I had to jump in there and I had to learn some maths.
Did you?
Yeah.
You hate maths.
Yeah, not a fan. Not a fan. But look, I learned something. It was good. So the kids were able to learn, I was able to learn, and we solved problems together. And I think they could see that if you persevere and approach the problem in a reasonable or somewhat logical manner and persevere, you'll be able to crack it.
There we go. I think from both sides there, it's embracing technology, right? So having the right types of technology that can now allow us to be able to work on the go and do things differently. When I was last catching up with Mum, she was still buying a storage device from the Noel Leeming.
But the storage bank thing. So
Yeah,
Mama
yeah.
Kemi's is getting a thing.
Mum Kay wanted to save all her pictures.
Has she not heard of the cloud?
I said to her, Mum, you might as well just save those in the cloud. I don't have that. I haven't got that cloud thing. I'm like, I've got to duck out to a meeting, but when I get back, I'll give you a quick lesson.
Yeah. So we've been doing this business model now for 2.5 years.
Yep. For Next Advisory and then longer. Yeah.
And it works really well for us. What would you say is the single best bit of technology that you have got?
Well, I think in our accounting space, it's got to be Xero in terms of a software.
Yep.
Do you mean like a hard tool?
Yep, it's software and tool.
Okay, so I think the thing that's changed my life for the better would be the iPad Pro.
Yep.
And the ability to write on that, which is somewhat old school, but that also means you can sign documents. And the amount of time that we've saved through being able to sign things and return them quickly and not go, right, I need to print this, sign it, scan it, email it back, like bang, there's 5 touch points gone straight away. That's put so much time back in my day. And the iPad in general, linking up with the old Mac, the phone, it's just been, it's like the
seamless.
Suite. I've gone back to school. I've got a backpack again.
That's right. You're the backpack accountant.
I'm the backpack accountant.
Yeah.
And, to be able to take those 3 tools basically internationally, probably 6 times last year, and pull it out in Darwin. Yeah, they don't last too long in the heat, the old Macs.
Really?
No, they get too hot and they'll stop working.
Give you that little warning.
It wasn't very good in Darwin. It's like sitting in a sauna with your Mac.
Ouch.
But to be able to carry on with those hard tools have been sort of my 3 go-tos. I have got a screen to help the eyes out, but they would be them for me. And then software Xero, I guess, in the accounting side of things, we wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah. What about you?
On the iPad, in the time that we've had them, I think we've got 2 or 3 clients that have seen what we've done with them and have liked it that much, have gone out and bought iPad Pros themselves. Yeah. Because they can see how efficient it can be for their own lives and their own businesses. But for me, I agree. The iPad Pro with the ability to be able to use your Apple Pencil and take notes, scan documents, it's an absolute godsend. And I remember when we were originally looking at them, I'd thought about the smaller model. And you were, no, we'll go the big one, which is the same size
uncommon
screen.
for me.
Yeah, it is. But we'll go the big one.
Yeah,
uncharted
I don't usually.
Uncharted territory for you, but we've got to try these things.
Yeah.
And it's the same size screen as the MacBooks.
Yeah.
And I tell you, it was the best decision I think we made was to go full size.
And how quickly they paid themselves back in terms of value to us, eh? Like they seemed kind of expensive in terms of the price of the technology for what seems so simple, like, and $130 for a pencil. What?
It's a tool I think we could not go without now. I mean, you look at it and go, you could use a pen and paper, but with the way we operate in such a mobile environment and with cloud technology so accessible, we can be making meeting notes, save that as a PDF, save it up into the cloud, and then our team has got immediate access to that following a meeting with a client. And then that's complete collaboration and everybody on the same page, so we can provide really quite seamless service. On the software side of things, for me, it would be Google Drive.
I knew you were going to say it.
Yeah.
Big GD. Yeah.
I had never really embraced cloud storage technology prior to Google Drive.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love it now, and gone to the extent of putting personal stuff up there.
Yeah.
And we were like Mama Kay.
Yeah.
With our photos. Umpteen storage things in case one of them breaks down, and we hide them in places, and then you forget where you hide them and where's our photos gone. Our hard drive actually shed itself on our home computer a while back, and we managed to save our photos, and that really forced our hand to move them up into cloud storage.
Yeah.
So we now don't have to worry about those little drive things. It's great. So God bless the cloud.
Google Drive, and it's free when you've got a Gmail account, right? You need to sort of upgrade for some space and stuff, as you invariably do, but
Yeah, well, ours is, I don't know what the go is on pricing and whatnot. We're on a business one.
All, yeah. And you get email, you got, Google Sheets, Google Docs, Google Slideshows, everything. Everything.
The Google suite of products blows my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, dare I say it, still use Outlook for my email because I'm a little bit old-fashioned.
Yeah.
But for most businesses, the basic tools Google provide with docs, spreadsheets, slides, calendar. Their calendar's great.
Oh, calendar's good, yeah. And then video calling.
Hangouts.
Yeah.
Or Meet, they
Chat.
now call it. Yeah.
Chat. One thing I didn't realise you could do and learnt the other week was that you can build your own ebooks in Google Docs basically and convert it into an ebook, and then bang, any company or business can have an ebook that they can put out into the marketplace. Hey, download our ebook.
So you'd be a self-published, award-winning accountant.
Give me a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We get the book out. One of the other pieces of technology that I love has been Calendly, which is a way to stop the, what time are you free? Oh, are you free at 7? Oh, okay, well, put in your calendar. Are you going to send me the invite? No, I'll send you the invite. All that crap. Hey, here's this link. They get access to basically your calendar. They pick a time where you're free. You can set all the parameters of you can only book 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever. And they book it. They get you get an email saying someone's booked into your calendar, and then they get an invite into their calendar, and it has set instructions, and then bang, it just saves so much time of let me check my calendar and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yep, you're a big advocate, and it's something you do very well about managing your time and putting time back in your day, of knowing what tasks are inefficient uses of time and really hunt those down. So Calendly is a great tool for that.
There's a number of them out there. I think the beauty industry use them very, very well and have, is it Timely, I think, that they use? And
I think that's the one.
Yeah, so those sorts of things.
The other thing from working from home, if you haven't invested in ultra-fast broadband and dialed up to fibre, do it. You will not look back. I have it at home and it is unreal.
That'd be a tax-deductible expense for Accounting 101 there, wouldn't it, surely?
Yeah, I'm sure it would form part of the old Home Office claim, and we'd probably look to jack the Home Office claim right up under the coronavirus, and I probably imagine that the home would be 95% office these days, surely.
Well, I wonder if in time we'll see legislation change around employees being able to claim their home office because they are working from home a lot more. I think we've kind of touched on this a couple of times before, but I think COVID might almost speed it up where they say, well, actually, people are investing in better setups, and if the employer, may go from that's you're an outlier, so the employer will pay for that, to no, that's pretty standard. If you want to be a part of this business, you need to be able to work from home.
Whether IRD will allow some type of allowance as a deduction in your tax return for working from home, or whether your employer provides you with a non-taxable allowance as part of your salary to offset some of the costs that you're incurring by working from home.
Yeah, well, we'll see, because I think setup is a very, very important, factor in working from home. If you don't have the tools that you need, and if you don't know what you're doing, that's usually why people will be disengaged in a working environment. And it's the same for us. If we didn't have, if your internet suddenly slows down, you're like, oh my God, how do I cope?
Mm-hmm.
And that's because you don't have the tools that you need. If your computer breaks, then same sort of thing. If you don't know what you're doing, that's when you start to procrastinate. So I think having a good setup of all the things that you do need is paramount. And I've heard mates sort of saying through this COVID period, I didn't have a working seat or, an office chair or whatever. I'm like, well, how did you get through 8 weeks? And they're like, I wasn't very efficient or it was bad for me. I'm like, well, that's a classic example of needing to front foot that or improvise.
It's that pain point with a problem. People acknowledge that there's a problem there, but it's not as big enough a pain point to go, I'll solve it and do something about it.
Yeah.
But looking at you've got quite the setup here. Explain to the listeners, what you've got on the go for the home office.
Yeah, look, I've got the IKEA chair, I think it is.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be making that myself. I actually took the display one out of the shop and put it into my car. They said that's the display chair. You can't take that. I said, well, I won't be buying one. And they said, okay, you can take that one. So good sales from them and good hustle from me, because there was no way I was going to try and put it together, because I had tried to put together my desk here, which is a glass desk.
Yep.
so I could see.
Do you come equipped with the tools to be able to put this stuff together? Or
No, certainly not. I got the Freedom desk here, which is glass top. The reason I got glass fill is so that if I was looking down through the glass, I could see if I had any pants on or not. Which I find that with the hard sort of top desk, you can't quite see. So
that's a smart play, because it is pretty easy to wake up in the morning and forget to put pants on.
Out of bed.
And then jump on the old Zoom and stand up, and things would get awkward pretty quick.
So Freedom actually sorted me the desk, which is the glass, as I say. And unfortunately, when I was putting that together, it took about an hour, which was obviously pretty frustrating because I'm a pretty impatient guy. And I sort of got my Allen key going and whatnot, and it was good to get equipped with John Allen key. And I'd put it all together backwards. so
You put it back.
there's only about,
Wow.
I mean, you could probably count it from where you're sitting there, Phil, but there's probably only about 10 pieces, and I managed to do the whole thing backwards, and so I couldn't bolt the glass top onto the onto the frame, so I had to undo it all and start again. But needless to say, I got it done, and then I got a nice Samsung screen that I could plug my computer in to have a bit more length in my life and to be able to look at.
And looking at it from this angle, it's a lot of length, and it's got a bit of it's one of the curved ones.
It is one of the new curved, lengthy image display machines that Samsung are rolling out, and it was actually $499, which made it a low value asset and 100% tax deductible for the punters out there that are listening as well, which has now been increased to $5,000 for this financial year.
You've got quite a good setup there. I am impressed with it. Mine's just on the dining room table at home.
Okay.
Yeah, I too have upgraded to a bigger screen, because we were just rolling MacBooks. And, whilst the MacBook is a great product, to be looking at a 13-inch screen all day is a little bit challenging. And then when you start to get that extra length, it's amazing just how much easier things become.
Definitely easier on the eye. And also, speaking of easy on the eye, I've got my setup out to the world, so out to the water to fuel my creativity. And I hear a lot of people just working in a dark and dingy room or a four-square box.
A windowless box. You're very fortunate with your view here. I mean, for me, on the table at home, just looks out to the neighbours. So it's not a very inspiring view. So you're lucky, but on the other side of it, you're extremely focused that you can manage your distractions.
Yeah.
And that if it was me, I'd look up from that big monitor and look out there, and I'd get potentially lost in that view. And before you know it, it's like getting lost in the feed of Instagram or Facebook, and you've lost half an hour or an hour.
Very distracting. Well, speaking of being focused, one thing that I was very fortunate to receive for my birthday, was it my birthday or maybe Christmas actually, from a great guy called Phil from Next Advisory, was a pair of noise-cancelling headphones, and they have actually been life-changing for me. I would say life-changing would be the two words, given that we're, often providing aspirational business owners with life-changing advice. And it's actually really noisy out there, and I think with those on, sometimes I'm in like a different zone and I'm just getting things done, and then I take them off and I'm like, wow, I didn't realise it was so noisy, but it's made me realise how focused I was and blocking out some of that distraction. So I think you can apply that same methodology if you do need to, when you need to go into do mode, when working from home or working from wherever, you've got to figure out where your little zone is, where you're going to get things done. And if that means that you've got to tell the kids, hey, you can't come in here between these hours, or when this sign's turned to red, or you turn your phone over and get your distractions out of the way. You've got to build those types of tactics into your setup, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And the buzzword was this work-life balance a while back, and everyone was wanting work-life balance, and now it's flipped on its head and it's completely blurred, because work and life are now merged into the one physical location at home, and to be able to separate them has now become just so much more difficult. And I think it's really important that if you are going to be doing this working from home and embracing it longer term, that you come up with some strategies yourself about how you manage your time and fit in your personal time versus your work time to ensure that, time is absolutely efficiently used and you're productive on all fronts.
Yeah. Have you got any tips for doing that? Because my life blurs a lot more to just the working side rather than the personal side. But you've got a bit more to juggle in your life.
Yeah. Tip number one would be don't get married and don't have kids.
Interesting tactic.
No. So I do say that in jest, but I think it's just important to establish a routine and good habits and structure, and be quite clear, particularly if there's two of you, two adults with kids working in the same space, of balancing your time to make sure that you're giving the kids the right amount of attention plus your work the right amount of attention. I was fortunate through lockdown that our bubble was geographically split, so I had a few advantages there, that I was able to just sit down and work largely uninterrupted. But I think getting up and maintaining a routine and having a good structure wrapped around it pays off.
Yeah, I've heard some people talking about just staying in bed later and knowing that, well, they're not travelling as much, so then they're going to sleep a little bit longer, and then they're finding themselves in bed at 11 a.m. and stuff. That's not good. That's not good signs. And I think people need to take ownership as well, because if you want the privilege, let's say, of working from home, other people wouldn't call it that, but it kind of is in this day and age. When people are sort of forced to go to work. But if you really want to be productive when working from home, then you need to learn yourself, and you need to learn how you're going to do that to be able to prove to people that you can be as productive, if not more productive, So there's some ownership on people that go down this route to actually figure out how to make it work for them. And that's your own responsibility.
Yeah, and it is a massive challenge, because the beauty of going to work, it's a physically different location. So mentally, you're going somewhere, and in that location, you have to work.
Yep.
Whereas staying at home, that's mentally associated with stuff that's not associated with work. More leisure, relaxing, mucking around. So to then go, gee, I need to be working in this location.
Yep.
You need to be going, oh, gee, I need to be doing things differently.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, it'd be an ultimate test of resilience.
Oh, yeah.
Because it would be a big challenge, massive challenge.
Well, as a young fellow, when I was at high school, I never forget this, but they would say when studying, you get study leave, and we got study leave for the first time, and it was like freedom. I get to stay at home. I don't have to go to school, but I'm supposed to still do my schoolwork. And I've really reflected on a couple of these lessons that I had, that like I'm only just learning that I learned at the time. And they would say, right, you stay at home, do your study leave, but don't stay in bed and do your study and read your textbook in bed. Like, it doesn't work. And I'm like, what would they know? I'll do what I want. Don't go out and study in the sun and think that you're going to hang out outside and blah, blah, blah. And I can still picture me in my head being like, whatever, I'm doing that, and going and doing some study with my little extra. I think I had extra for experts, little textbooks. A bit of a geek at school, still now. And doing the study outside, but it was never as productive. And I think I learnt routine quite early on. And also I went to a pretty strict boys' school that was a lot of routine was built around it. And I didn't realise at the time probably like how much it was setting me up to help for the situations that we're in now, in terms of understanding the importance of a routine and sticking to it, and why that's important and how far it can take you. So I think I've got a lot to be thankful for my my schooling days, that they were teaching me some of these things that I need to know now then, but I didn't think that those lessons were about now. They were just about my study leave, but really they were life lessons.
They've set the foundations for
the
great one.
For the great one, yeah.
And they're paying dividends, and that's
right.
That's a really good story there.
Yeah,
really good to hear. So, what would you say would be the top 1, 2, maybe 3 things to make sure that if you're going to be working from home, it's going to work out for you on all fronts?
So I reckon routine, having a good routine, and not just sitting at your desk for the sake of sitting there, because that's kind of what you do in an office environment. You got to sit here from 9 till 5. Well, if you don't have work to do, then why are you still sitting at your desk? You don't have to do that when you're at home. Do something productive, like work on yourself, work on your business, work on something that's going to lift you up. Take a break, or go to the gym or whatnot. Don't just fall into the trap of just sitting there. So I think when you work from home, you can get so much more efficiency built into your day and your whole life, but you only get that if you decide to pull it out of it. So if you find ways to get your time back, to make things easier, just say to people, no, I can't actually, there's no point in me coming for an entire coffee for an hour when this is just I can give you a hand for 5 minutes over the phone or over a Zoom call and you'll be on your way. You've got what you need. You've got to make a commitment to doing those sorts of things. And I think working from home can teach you how to actually make your day a lot more efficient and productive. Start with your routine.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. And a little hack for some people, and I mean, we've had the beauty of understanding time in a lot of detail because we've previously had to do timesheets.
Oh, yuck.
We don't do those bad boys anymore, but previously you have to account as an accountant for every 6 minutes of your life.
Yeah. That's a true story.
Yeah. We could write a few books about timesheets, but, But I think a hack for some people who might be battling on the structure of working from home, set a timer on your phone for an hour.
Nice.
Turn it on and sit there and do whatever the task is at hand until that buzzer goes off. And then once it goes off, boom, reward yourself.
Yeah. Treat yourself.
Treat yourself. You've achieved something. Take a break. It's okay to take a break and embrace some of the distractions that the home front brings, but be mindful of the time and go, well, okay, I've done work for an hour. The time has gone off, so I'll go and do 10 minutes of whatever it is, whether it's losing yourself in social media, catching up with whatever's on TV, stretching your legs, reading a book, whatever.
Watching that tiger show, maybe.
Don't get me started on Carol Baskin.
We won't recommend that as upskilling.
Yeah, if you want to lose a few brain cells. And then rinse and repeat. So once you come back, refocus, chuck that timer on and sit down, and you'll be surprised that you only need to do that a few times and boom.
Yeah.
Your day's gone and you've achieved so much more.
Yeah, love it.
Within your day.
I think to go into like a real hyper geek mode of that too, once you've got a routine around working from home and setting time limits about doing things, get yourself a 5 a.m. to a 9 p.m. sheet of paper and write down what you're doing for each half an hour of that. Just, right, I was still in bed, on social media, then I went to the gym, went back to bed, lunchtime, and have a look at what you do for your day and go, do I want to change anything about this? Because I'm sort of a bit more in control of my time now. I'm not just like, okay, I've got to be at work from 9 to 5, therefore I've got to go to the gym before that, I've got to travel. You've got the power and ability to sort of change up your day and make it work for you. So have a look at it and audit it. Don't just fall into old habits.
That's absolutely spot on, and it's something that I've carried on from leaving doing timesheets is still looking at where my time goes in the day and reflecting back on that and going, where have I lost time and why, and how can I stop that happening in the future so that I remain efficient.
Yeah, beautiful. I think to finish as well, it pays to be grateful that you can work from home because realistically it's taken COVID for a lot of businesses and a lot of people to actually mentally accept like, wow, this can work. But then there's a lot of businesses looking at everyone going, you idiots, why did this take you so long? Like the technology was there, why didn't you embrace it? So you might think, oh, we're all cool now and this is the fashionable thing to do. There's people laughing at you that it's taking you this long to try and teach yourself about what has been in place for a long time now. So lift your game a little bit, to be fair, but learn faster and don't get too complacent with it because it needs to work for you. And I think I saw a great book talking about if work needs to end at 5 p.m. for you, then stick to that too, because otherwise when working from home, bang, there's another email, there's another notification, there's always something, right, that can drag you back into a half an hour set of work. So if you need to finish work, like you've got to set yourself a time and go, that's when work finishes and that's where life starts or whatever it is.
And back on that point, that's where life starts and gets blurry because work and life are all under the one roof. And you need to be really careful to make sure that you're giving 100% to every facet of your life. Otherwise, it's pretty easy for work to kind of take over because that next email comes in or that next phone call comes through.
Yeah.
And to have the ability to be able to go, no, I'm switched off. I'm off now. I'm now focusing on family time or hobbies time or sport or whatever the case may be. I think that's still important. And, we've had the benefit of that. If you wake up in the morning, you do some work, We don't have to worry about going and fighting the morning rush at the gym. In that time, we still get up early, and then we can go, right, we'll go to the gym later in the day where it might be a little bit quieter.
Yeah.
You're still fitting that time in. It's just at a different place, and we're probably achieving the same, if not more, than you might be if you were in an office environment.
Definitely. I think that's a very good point to touch on before we wrap up, is that we're now breaking decade-old methodology and structure and routine. So it's going to feel like a little bit weird for you. Even I know sometimes when I go to the gym at 9 a.m., at 10 a.m., and there's no one there, I'm thinking, shit, like what if people are emailing me? Do I need to, or like sometimes I have to force myself not to check my emails because I know I'll want to try and deal with it or get back to my computer and sort it out. But, you will feel a little bit uncomfortable with it because that's not what we were taught. We were taught, turn up at 8:30, go home at 5:30 sort of thing. Most for 80% of people in sort of the professional services, etc. So it will feel a bit weird, but that's also a good thing because, that's usually when you're out of your comfort zone.
That's where the magic happens. So I think to cover off on the working from home, software, there's plenty of cloud stuff there. If you're unsure, there's plenty of people out there that are already embracing it. So refer across to your network and talk to people to find out what works and what doesn't work.
Yep.
Get your hardware in order. If you need to upgrade from that little screen to something a bit bigger so it's easier on your eye.
Yeah, a bit curvy.
Yeah, rip into that. Your eyes will thank you for it because you won't have to probably squint. Get that comfortable chair. Have the desk all set up at the right height. Osh will thank you for that.
They will.
And then the next stuff is all the mental stuff that we really spoke about, wasn't it? In terms of routine and structure and discipline.
There we go. That is working from home from the Masters. Let's call ourselves that. What's Next podcast over and out. As always, if you've got any questions, send them through to lmp@nextadvisory.nz. Hit us on the socials. Subscribe to this. We'll keep rolling them out. If you've got any topics you want us to cover, let us know. We can do that too. See you next time.